What's the deal? It's your boy Jason Mike, Mr. Athletic Over Everything. No hobbies, only obsessions. You can pick up merch on athleticovereverything.com. Today, I kind of wanted to talk about something, and it's going to sound funny to a lot of people. They're going to find this very hard to believe. Some people are going to be extremely triggered. Some people are going to be triggered by the title of this video. But I think this is very important and something that a lot of young lifters can look at and even model for their own training going forward. I came into powerlifting in 2014. And the only reason why I came into powerlifting was to get 500 pounds on record. I had started trying to bench 500 pounds early 2014, and it got to the point where I was really close, and I finally got it. And when I got it, you know, I didn't want to be in a situation where I was telling people, yeah, I benched 500 pounds back in the day, and I wanted to have something on paper. You know, video wasn't good enough. I found out about powerlifting a couple of years prior, but never really took it serious. The guy who got me involved in powerlifting, he, you know, was trying to get me to do equip lifting. I didn't want to do equip, but over a period of time, he went to a different gym. We wound up meeting at a gym, and when this happens, he saw that my bench had progressed from when I first started. He first started seeing me bench press. I was benching probably 450, 460 range. So he gets back, you know, he gets back into the fray. I was like, hey, they got a powerlifting meet coming up. You should do it. So he convinced me to train. I got to the point where I was able to bench like 5'10", 5'11" in the gym, you know, bro style, not knowing about pause reps, anything like that. And I go out to my first meet in 2014. It was an APF meet, and I attempted 465 to open, and I went for 500 on my second attempt and missed it because I had wrist wraps on. I didn't understand, so I took all that stuff off, and I was able to get the 500 pounds. And that actually sent me down a rabbit hole of doing full power. You know what I'm saying? Because someone had told me doing 500 pounds is cool, but it would be impressive if I did it in a full meet. And then I asked, well, if I did a full meet, what would be the number? The guy tells me for a guy your size, and I'm going to get back to size, would be 1,800 pounds. So I was like, well, what's a great number? He told me 2,000. So I said, well, next year at this particular meet, I'll have a 2,000 pound total. And sure enough, I wound up totaling 2,000 pounds a year later. But to get to that, is that I weighed in at about 290 pounds, if I'm correct, and I might have been 292. So my last competition that I just did at the Arnold, I weighed in at 295. Then I did another meet at the Arnold, I weighed in at 297. So for the most part of my complete career since 2014, I've weighed in between. The lowest I believe I've weighed in competition was 129 kg. I can't remember what that is offhand, and you know, I've weighed up to 316 or 17 might have been the biggest I've gotten. But if you can tell, there's been no huge swing in weight. Now the fact that I've done this drug free is kind of the remarkable part. And over the time since I've come in, I've added 160 plus pounds to my bench press, all natural. Now, some people are going to call bullshit. They're like, oh, all you guys are on drugs. You're on drugs just like everybody else. You know how to cheat the test and do all this stuff. Well, I competed in the USPA for the first 2 years of my powerlifting career until I had a falling out with USPA Texas, and I switched to the USAPL. And my first meet as a USAPL lifter, I bench pressed 550, maybe, or 545. I can't remember the exact number, but back in 2016 when I went to Raw Nationals, I bench press like 573 at Nationals in 2016. And if you go back and look at some of my videos, this is actually a telltale sign. I've lost so much muscle mass since 2016, 2017, and my bench press has jumped from 575 to 660, right? And I've gotten older. I mean, if you guys don't know, I'm 44 years old. I turned 45 in a couple of months. So the fact that I've gotten older, I've gotten less muscular, I'm just not as strong anymore, right? But my bench has gone through the roof. And last year, you know, I had over 150 bench presses of 600 plus pounds. And that's unheard of. I probably handled 600 pounds more than any other lifter in the world in the last couple of years. But I'm saying all this to say that there are a lot of reasons for this happening. And I'm going to get into it. I'm also going to probably add some video for context of what happened last year and something that I realized that made my bench press just take off, right? So I decided to concentrate fully on bench press after 2019 Raw Nationals, right? I didn't do any squatting, no deadlifting, anything. All I did was bench press, and that's a huge reason why my bench had got so good. But within that, I started learning more about my technique, about my stroke. I stopped training my chest so much. I stopped worrying about little things. I started worrying about smaller details that go into my bench press. I started worrying about getting my elbow drop correctly. And the elbow drop is where your elbow slots in when you go down to touch your chest. I stopped flaring so much where I'm benching with my elbow high. I started getting to the point where I was able to set my bench by just, if you watch my fists, this is what happens to me when I bench. That little turn there allows me to drop the bar where it needs to go. Now if I kept my hand here, it's going to do this. So what I'm looking to do is to get my elbow to drop into the slot. And that alone helped me a lot. And I try to explain this to people over the years, is that you want to have a thick bar path. Now, if you have a small bar path, you could be strong, but you're going to be strong in that one position, right? And if something happens where you get a touch, or you're on a bench where you don't get the proper position, if you get thrown off your bar path a little bit, you're not going to be able to complete the lift smoothly. And something recently came up with James Key. He was attempting to break my full meet world record a couple of weeks ago at Powerlifting America's Nationals. And he's probably 640, 650 strong. But he couldn't lock out 622 because he was in bad position on the bench before the lift even started, as well as his bar path, as strong as he is, he's strong in one angle. He's not strong here. So like, say for instance, his strength is in here, where someone like myself, my bar path is thick. So as long as I'm anywhere in between that, I'm gonna be strong. But that's because all I've done is repetitions with super heavy weight, and I've mastered the art of my setup. And when you get to the point where you master your setup, it'll allow you to take off. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, you're on drugs, you know, you're just like everybody else. If I was on drugs, do you realize how big I would be? I would literally probably be a bodybuilder or something like that. If you've ever seen my physique, I'm 300 pounds with abs, you know what I'm saying? But yet I haven't done any ab exercises, I haven't done any squats, haven't done any back work. I've done no accessories at all over the years. And I've kind of prided myself on doing that. But what I would say is that I'm not going to say that it's hurt my bench, the fact that I haven't done accessories, no shoulder work, no bicep work, no tricep work, no back work or anything over the years. What I will say is it made me a worse power lifter. You know, my deadlift at one point was my best lift at a certain point. When I was benching like 530 and I was pulling 815, I would say my deadlift was a better lift. But over the years, my deadlift has gotten worse and my bench press has gotten better. And I think it's because I wasn't doing those accessories. And that's why I'm now really hunkering down, and I'm going to be doing accessories going forward. because I'm going back to full power. A lot of people don't know that, but I may not make it for Raw Nationals this year because I'm not going to have time to qualify, but I am going to be at full power, and I am going to total 1,000 kilo. So that's kind of what the plan is. But a lot of things that people should just pay attention to, you know, it's learning not to be a gym bencher. And this happens to a lot of people who bench press because it's one of those things where you typically don't need a lot of equipment, and most people do it at the gym. They go to the gym, they bench press. But one of the things that gym benchers do is that they set up too far under the rack. And the reason why they do that is because they're having to do a self handoff. And when you do that over a period of time, it puts you in a terrible position once you unrack the bar, right? So let me give you an example. If you are an individual who self unracks or has a bench press set up to a gym press, your bar, when you unrack, is going to be here, right? Typically, and if you watch certain lifters, their arms, the bar is forward. So in order for them to get the bar to touch, they're at a bad angle. And to finish the lift, you typically have to come back towards your chin. And what I've noticed is that so many guys, they're so far away from the rack, or so far deep inside the rack, when it gets unracked, they're lifting and their energy is pushing forward instead of backwards. So what you'll see is that what you should do is basically get someone to hand off to you, but get away from the rack so that you can actually place the bar like in here. And when you drop that bar down, you're able to be more aggressive instead of having to fight the force going towards your feet. And once I started doing that, I started seeing more and more success. And like I said, I mentioned James Key earlier. You know, the bar, if you watch when he bench pressed 622 pounds, he unracked with his head damn near on the other side of the bar. So he was fighting the force of the weight wanting to go one way, and him trying to finish the weight in that same direction. And it just wasn't happening. That's what caused the bar to go up and down. It wasn't a strength issue. So get away from the rack. And what I used instead of worrying about that is I got the Monolith. And the Monos allow me to unrack and be in a perfect position for where I want the bar. Now the only problem with this is when you go to a competition, you're typically going to have someone hand the weight off to you. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a terrible handoff. And if you're doing a self handoff, if you're getting into the elite levels of weight, you can't unrack 620 pounds here. So that's what makes it difficult for someone like for me. I do self lift-offs in my garage gym, but when I get to competitions, I need a strong lift-off. I want to be able to make sure that I'm tight, I'm locked in, and the person who lifts off gives me the weight from here to here. And what you notice, a lot of people, their handoffs are here to here, and what happens is they wind up stuck. So the bar, they're having to do too much to balance the weight to get it back where it needs to go. And you'll see people hit the rack a lot, and if you hit the rack a lot, you know that the lift's not going to count. And you're also going to never have the bar in the proper path. I'm more or less now in a position where I'm going to start doing more bodybuilding exercise, start doing shoulders again. I haven't done any of this stuff in years, and it took a lot for me to realize that maybe I should change some things after having the year that I had last year. I mean, 150, 600 plus pound bench presses. I had, I think, 50 or 60 120 plus pound benches. I had 6 or 7 500, 650 plus pound benches. Countless 600, like 600 triples, 625 doubles, 640 pause reps, 635 pause reps. I was going absolutely crazy. And with that being the case, I think I got to the point where I learned how to move weight, but I didn't get stronger. And it's kind of weird how you look at it. I think that me getting back to getting stronger is going to allow me to have a stronger lift off. Like when I get the weight in my hands, it's not going to bother me as much. I'm gonna start strengthening my shoulders because I have been struggling with shoulder issues for the last 2 years and they haven't helped. I've just been compensating for the lack of shoulder strength. And I think now that I'm going to be addressing these things, it's going to allow me to get to a 700-pound bench press. Now, I'm in the process of reworking programming because doing full power training is already taking its toll on me. On one weekend, I squatted on Tuesday of last week and I'm still sore. My legs are shot. I couldn't even deadlift this week. So it's going to be a rough transition, but I do believe that I'll be able to do it just based on my athletic abilities, you know what I'm saying? But this is something that I believe over time is going to help me going forward, especially as a coach and as a bencher. 700 pounds is still very possible. When I was benching 650 plus, I was about 290 to 305. So now my weight is like 285, 286 or something like that. I may have to get back up to for 700. I may have to get to to 320 or something like that. I don't really want to do that. I want to stay under 308, but I just know going forward I have so much more. And when you think about it, the fact that I've gotten so much smaller with less muscle mass, I just have a lot more of experience. I've learned how my bar path works. I stopped worrying about the bench. I started worrying about how the bar travels with my body. How am I strong when pressing? I'm going to show some of my lifts in this video, and what you'll notice is that on lifts where I'm super strong is when I keep my elbow inside of 90, right? So on the lifts where the bar is here and I'm pushing in that particular angle, the weights are much smoother. But as the weight gets up, as the weights get heavier, you tend to always, you might start here, but to finish, you flare out. And that's what causes the bar to travel up and down, or not for you to have a super strong bar path. Figure out what's going on with your setup. I do not have, I don't utilize leg drive to like a crazy amount or anything. Most of my training is done with my feet in the air. I actually got up to a 612-pound bench press with my feet in the air. I did 612, I did 606, 600 multiple times. All of those things helped my bench press over the last couple of years. Because what happens is that coming from squatting, I typically wind up cramping out. So when I get to bench, I don't have the ability to use leg drive. And on the times where I was able to have good leg drive, it helps, but leg drive is typically something that you can't see. When you see people using, or you think they're using leg drive, they're basically just being extremely sloppy. You see them turning their bench on and off. They'll typically drop the weight to their chest, and then you see this jolt of energy. But with me, I try to stay extremely tight, and my legs and everything are driven in before I even start the press, and everything's one fluid motion. And that's one of the things that also helped me lifting the USAPL is the fact that you can't move your head. You can move your head, but it can't come off the bench. You have to have your feet flat. So what happens is it forced me to get more discipline in my stroke, but also gave me more confidence, because if I ever had to do a meet that wasn't an IPF meet or a USAPL meet where I could have a little more movement and manipulate the bar a little bit, I probably could bench a little bit more, but it just wouldn't be as solid fundamentally. If you watch the bigger benchers in these other federations, the bar never completely stops, especially with the bigger guys. One, the bar is sinking into their chest. They're not as solidly built muscularly wise, so there's a lot of softness. So the bar, if you just watch most of the big benchers, the bar never stops. It never stops. In the USAPL even, or in the IPF, you have some of the bigger guys get away with sinking the bar without it stopping. The way that I'm built, I'm extremely solid in my chest area. There is no softness. When that bar touches, it's gonna touch. There's no sinking. And the bar is coming out. And it's because I stay connected throughout the lift. I don't drop the weight down to my chest and then have to try to do a dead press to get it up. Once again, someone like a power builder, he drops the bar down to his chest, disconnects completely, and then lifts. And in his situation, what makes his bench press so crazy is that he does that. So what it causes people to do is wait for the bar to settle. When they do call it tight, then he has to be ready to bench press. So his stuff that he does is so impressive due to the fact that of his style of benching. If he was ready to press when they gave him the press signal, no telling how much he would bench press. And once again, James Key, he kind of does the same thing. He disconnects with the bar as it comes down to his chest, and then has to reboot up in order to lift the weight. These are just things that I noticed, and I thought that I'll make this video because I'm actually going to help James Key, just give him some tips and stuff that I've seen with his bench press over the years as advice, and I put it in video form as well, because I thought it could help some other lifters. But staying connected and just learning how you move weight, how your body is strongest, staying underneath the bar. You can't stay underneath the bar if the bar goes forward, and that's where I'm talking about setting up position-wise. If you're in a position where you can keep your elbows under the bar for a longer period of time, you have a greater chance for success with the bench press. What else? I don't use elbow wraps, elbow sleeves, and all that stuff. That stuff is cheating. And it's good for Instagram and likes and all that stuff. You see some of these guys, like the Dream, I think his name is Dream. He's a super strong guy, smaller guy, but he uses elbow wraps. That doesn't necessarily show how strong you actually are. Some people are strong with elbow sleeves and things of that nature, and I've talked about this before. There are very few people who are strong with elbow wraps, elbow sleeves, and without. Two names come to mind. You have Larry Wills, who sells everybody these elbow wraps, which have hurt so many people in the sport, which is absolutely crazy. But he's able to he's so strong that he's able to bench, the 660, 670, or whatever he does with the elbow wraps, but he could still bench 620 without anything on his elbows. Then you have someone like James Swimhack, who is ridiculously strong with or without the elbow sleeves. But his elbow sleeves, he wears them. He doesn't wear a tight elbow sleeve, so he's able to actually train his actual bench press. It doesn't restrict his stroke any. He's able to actually put in the work needed. So for him, he's one of the few people that I've seen where there's no real drop off in terms of what he benches with elbow wraps. I mean, with elbow sleeves and without. But for the average lifter, it's going to give you too much of a jolt. It's going to give you too much energy, and that energy is just basically making you believe you're stronger than what you are. So many times where I get athletes who are coming in for the 6-way protocol, my coaching, and they'll tell me their lifts, by a number, and then when I see the videos, they have elbow wraps or they have elbow sleeves, and I can't use the information because it's not how much they actually bench. So I've just been more diligent in terms of getting people to take all that stuff off and let me see exactly where you are strength-wise. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, the last 2 months training for the Arnold this year, my shoulder and bicep was in terrible condition. I had to start wrapping my elbow or my bicep in order to get through sessions. And what I noticed is it did allow me to finish weights that I couldn't without the wrap on. And I'm trying to find it. So what I used was this. This kind of acts very similar to the elbow wrap, and this did allow me to get through some of the workouts that I was doing. One of the main differences is between what you see a lot of the guys do is they say that they have elbow issues or bicep tendonitis, so it allows them to do their bench work. But you don't see them benching numbers that they normally bench. You see them benching 50, 60, 70 pounds over what they've ever done in competition, because this is very much like a slingshot. So if you're using it in terms of like injury or to help you get through workouts, you'll be lifting weights on line with what you're typically able to do with or without it. And that's typically what I did. If you watch the videos that I did in January, February, I was just trying to even out my right side with my left side so the weights would go up smoothly. I did get up to a 600-pound bench press but I wasn't able to bench 600 at the Arnold. But it did allow me a little bit of relief so I can train. I just say that going forward, learn your bar path, learn your setup, and find a way to build your tolerance through volume. I think that's helped me so much. And you know, stories about my bench press are legend now. You know, I did 225 for 100 reps every day for 15, 16 years. And that allowed me to jump into powerlifting with an elite level bench press early on. So what I do is with my clients now, I have them do the 225 for 100 reps every Thursday or on their light day of benching. And it's helped a lot of my clients out tremendously over the years. But I hope this video just gave a little background in terms of how I got to where I am now. You know, like I said, a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, but I was very meticulous about my details of my bench press. I have done no accessory work. I wasn't doing no big back, big bench stuff, no forearms, none of that stuff. And to be honest with you, when you think about it, I was able to put all that, like in the last, you know, I broke the IPF world record with a 619 bench in 2017. Or was that 2018? And I was able to push that at Bench Nationals in 2021 to 623. And also I've been able to pause 640. So with all that being said, it was the fact that I paid attention to the smaller details of the lift. And now going forward, I'm back to doing the exercises that I did previously: shoulder press, curls, tricep extensions. I'm going to start doing rows as well as deadlifts. I do believe that it's going to allow me to get stronger. So if I was able to get to a 662 pound bench press touch and go with no extra work at all, benching 2 times a week or how sporadically I was benching, there's no reason for me not to be able to get to a 700 pound bench press. But like I said, this is Jason Mike, Mr. Athletic Over Everything. If you guys are interested in any of my merchandise, athletikovereverything.com. I have a bunch of great apparel, nothing but the best quality hoodies, t-shirts, joggers, slides, whatever it is, I have it there for you. I also have my coaching services available there. I have 1 month and I have month to month, as well as 6-month training options. Prices will go up at the beginning of May. So if you guys want coaching, you can get it from there, as well as my rookie card I did with Strongest Ever Trading Cards. It actually debuted at the Arnold. We did very well with that, but I have the base card as well as autograph versions on the site. The base card is $7 and the autograph is $15. But within the autograph, you have a chance of getting 3 different versions of the autograph with different inscriptions, and those will be selected randomly. But if you guys are interested in any of those things, you can get it at athletikovereverything.com. You can also follow me, Mr. Athletic Over Everything, on Instagram. I hope you guys found this information on this video entertaining. And for the guys who don't believe that you could do this drug-free, I'm sorry to tell you it's true. I've been drug tested multiple times. I was drug tested at the Arnold. I also didn't do well at the Arnold either. But I have a history of just doing well athletically, and this is nothing more than that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace.